Every day, we wake up to the world that Adam first opened his eyes to, the world that Moses led the Israelites in, the world in which Jesus taught, served, and died for, the world that continues to be riddled with sin despite God's insistent mercies. The seeming disparity of the world can lead one to wonder, was there ever a time when people lived in harmony with God's covenant? When Christ and his kingdom were the center and everything flowed from them? As we know by now, there was such a period in history, Christendom. Christendom is considered a time of darkness, but to those who truly understand this period, they will see that it is quite the contrary. Although Christendom houses devastating plagues and many gruesome wars, it is also a time of great enlightenment, invention, and creativity. Filled with tales of Richard the Lionhearted, Leonardo da Vinci, and Charles V, this period in history is the foundation for our fairy tale stories and knights in shining armor. The great people of Christendom left a huge impact on the world that many do not even recognize. To truly understand this period, one must investigate the cultural leaders that shaped Christendom. While there were many reformers, thinkers, and leaders in Christendom, three of the most influential people were Constantine, Benedict of Nyssa, and Justinian. Born into a time of political unrest in Rome, Constantine was a witness to the power struggle for the throne. During the midst of chaos in Rome, Diocletian took control and made tetrarchy. As a member of the tetrarchy, Constantine's father, Constantius, helped rule. In 306 AD, Constantius died and Constantine took his place as Caesar. However, 5 years later, the tetrarchy was breaking down. Seeing an opportunity, Constantine led his army in a military campaign to reunify Rome in 312. 1 year later, Constantine would write the Edict of Milan, which gave Christians and other religions the freedom to worship as they chose. For Christianity, this meant the end to the horrible persecution that Diocletian had imposed on them. After converting to Christianity himself and posting the Christian Freedom Edict, Constantine began to build churches and continued to help the religion flourish. However, there was a glaring problem with the revised church. It was extremely inconsistent. Due to the dispersion of the church, Constantine called the First Ecumenical Council in 325 AD to define Christianity and its statutes. Gathering in Nicaea, Constantine assembled leaders from the empire to discuss theological discrepancies. The council ended with the creation of the Nicene Creed, which was a written statement of Christians' beliefs that the council had decided on. 5 years later, Constantine established the city of Constantinople. This city was the prized jewel of the Roman Empire with its immaculate churches and great wealth. In the end, the capital of Rome was moved to Constantinople, as Constantine continued to grow the city until his death in 337 AD. Constantine left a legacy as a great political leader and cultural reformer. His contributions to Christianity not only allowed the religion to survive, but also thrive. He ordered the building of many churches and showed great vision and leadership throughout his reign. Much more valuable than a splendid city, however, was Constantine's reunification of the Christian religion. Without his tremendous effort to define the religion in its early stages, it is safe to say that Christianity would not be the same today. Not only was Constantine a great leader, but so was Benedict of Nyssa. Benedict was born around 480 AD in the city of Nyssa, Italy. While little is known about his early life, it is commonly recognized by historians that he was born into a family of middle class and was well educated. Benedict began his life as a monk after witnessing much of the political and societal unrest in Rome. Unattracted to the big city, Benedict withdrew to the Sembrani Hills to begin his life as a hermit, isolating himself for 3 years. However, even in this remote cave, people sought after him to follow his way of life. Eventually, Benedict attracted such a great number of followers that he started 12 monasteries. After creating these monasteries, Benedict continued his life as a hermit in the city of Cassino, while steadily creating his rule for monks. This rule strikes a delicate balance between isolated worship and community. The rule also outlines a lifestyle of fellowship while denying many earthly habits like greed, immorality, and slothfulness. In short, the monastics acknowledged human desires and then filled their lives with the things of God to resist these temptations. Believed to have been written sometime around 350 AD, Benedict's rule divides a monk's day among the most important parts of life. Monks would rise before dawn and begin their daily routine of prayer, worship, work, and study. Their vigorous schedule was kept 6 days out of the week, with a day of rest on Sunday. In the chaotic world of the 6th century, Benedict's rule provided a consistent and devoted lifestyle that many Christians yearned for. Due to his devout life and strict practices, St. Benedict is considered the father of Western monasticism. His rule provides a biblical-based reset for society's clock and calendar, placing God at the center of everything. His simple yet powerful outline for devoted Christians created a new generation of believers who prioritize God over pleasure and material things. Benedict's life is an astounding reminder of the impact a diligent, God-fearing man can have on society. Equally important to St. Benedict was Justinian. Born in 482 AD, Justinian was adopted by his uncle Justin, who had risen to power after being an imperial bodyguard. After being brought to Constantinople, Justinian was given a great education and a background in the art of war. In the year 527 AD, Justinian took control of the throne and began his military campaign to capture Iberia, Italy, and northern Africa. While Justinian was adding to his empire, he was also facing unrest back at home. The citizens of Byzantium were infatuated with athletics, but they were particularly fond of chariot racing. All people in Byzantium had a team, either the blues, the greens, the reds, or the whites, which identified their political party. These dire allegiances led to the Nika riot between the blues and the greens in 1532. The 5-day skirmish ended with people from both parties dead and destruction throughout the city. If it were not for Theodora, Justinian's wife, Justinian would not have had the courage to retake the city. While Justinian accomplished many military feats, he is best known for the creation of the Justinian Code. Wanting to replace the outdated Roman law, Justinian and many legal experts worked tirelessly to restructure the archaic law system. Due to his tireless work ethic, Justinian was bestowed the name the Emperor Who Never Sleeps. Another one of Justinian's major accomplishments was rebuilding the Hagia Sophia. After the devastating Nika riots, the old basilica was destroyed, setting in motion Justinian's creation of the greatest architectural and engineering feat of his time. The dominating exterior of the structure is balanced by the beautiful interior of the basilica. Although this church was later turned into a mosque, it still reflects the grandeur of the Byzantine Empire that Justinian established. Through Justinian's tireless work ethic and amazing leadership, he was able to create the great civilization of Byzantium. His military campaigns added more of Europe to the splendid nation he had created. His creation of the Justinian Code allowed his new added cities to flourish under a clearly outlined legal system. And his creation of the Hagia Sophia provided a magnificent haven for Christians to worship the Lord. Justinian's dedicated life symbolizes the vision and work ethic God asks his people to strive for. One can see the massive impact that these men had on the world of Christendom. From Benedict and his new way of life, to Constantine and the ecumenical councils, to Justinian and his new law code. All of these men played a crucial part in Christendom. But we don't study history just to learn miscellaneous facts. We study the past to prepare for the future. As it says in Micah 6:8, He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Since God has showed us what is good, we must listen to Him intently, so we can apply immediately. In a world where it is easy to bounce from one pleasure to another, it is our duty to return to biblical truth, to be reformed, but ultimately ever reforming. This is how we change the world, by pointing people back to God's unchanging standard. Yes, there was a time in history where Christ and His Word were the center of civilization. but who is to say that time can't be now?